The second one is it consistent with your values? One of the things I said, and one of the definitions I use for values is values are one's judgment of what's important in life, one's judgment of what's important to life. And I really fundamentally, I think all of us, and particularly when you work with people, when your job is really developing people or working with people, I think fundamentally people all should get in touch with what their values are. Fundamentally, what are those core values for you? What are the things that are most important to you? Where are you grounded? One of the things I always say about values is that values, sometimes people say, well, I value my family, right? Or I value the project I'm working on right now, right? And your values are really beneath all that. Your values really are eternal. They don't live in time and space, right? Your values are those things that are fundamental for you, that are underneath all of that. And part of the usefulness or the value of knowing what your values are is it gives you a sense of who you are fundamentally, what those core values you have, and that when you operate in conjunction with those values, there's a fundamental kind of alignment that you have. There's a fundamental authenticity that you have, that you're operating consistent with what your values are and expressing those values in the work that you do, right? So that's a really powerful piece. How do you know if something's a calling? Is because you can see the expression of your values in it. It's a way of being able to express your values, and it honors the expression of those values. Jim?
Dean, we did that session on values, but for folks maybe here, could you give a one, like, if say I'm struggling, like how I'm struggling to think through, like, what do I value?
Yes.
How what are those? We have some values cards and some things you can do, but practically
Yeah.
speaking,
Yeah.
how do you advise people on that if they're thinking through, like, what is it that I really do value?
Yeah. One of the things I always tell people, one of the sort of time honored ways one of the exercises to start to find your values are, it's called the 5 whys. It's root cause analysis is basically what it is, or sometimes people call it the 5 why analysis, where you just ask yourself, why do I value that? Right. So you start with something that seems important to you. Right. And then you say, like, okay, well, my family's important to me. And you ask yourself, well, why do I value that? Well, why do I value that? Right? Answer that question. And then keep answering, well, with whatever the answer to that question is, well, why is it that I value that? And you keep asking that question to start to drill down into fundamentally, what happens is you sort of hit bedrock there. You hit something that at its fundamental level is really important to you, right? It's like, I have a good friend in California, was one of the first people that I ever really had deep conversations about values with. He was a consultant at the time. He's a lawyer. He was a consultant at the time, and he was doing a lot of work with his clients around values. And fundamentally, one of his core values in life is love, and expressing love and facilitating the expression of love, right? And it really became a hallmark of, at the time, his law practice, and now the work that he does. And so I think it's for all of us, we got to kind of figure out what are those kind of core values that are at the heart of really who we are. And so that how you know something's your calling is you can see your values being expressed there. For me, one of the things, and I've shared this before, but for me, really what my whole life is about is empowering people to fulfill on their most important challenges, their most important commitments. And so really, I've spent my life really in the area of learning development. Really, I'm in the empowerment business, is really, am I empowering and equipping people to be able to do that? Right. And so that's why my work with strengths, my work as a coach, my work as a teacher, my work leading learning at Gallup is all sort of an expression of that.
Yeah, I love it. I think I've really worked. I think that's been a work in progress for me. And do you think folks have a good grasp on that generally? Or for many of us, are we always kind of working through or discovering those values, in the things that we really hold close to? What do you think?
Here's the thing. The thing I think is hard about this is unlike identifying your talents, identifying your values is a little squishier. You know, it's a little squishier. At the end of the day, only you are the one can say these are fundamentally my values, right? And how you oftentimes where it feels like they change for people is people are in the process of figuring out fundamentally what do I value. And so they get something and it's like, well, I thought I valued this, but really underneath it, what I value is, is that, right? So there's something that's underneath it that they really haven't gotten to. And so it's really that process. And I think it's part of the process of self-awareness where you really start to learn more about who you are. It's really a sense of figuring out like really what am I about?
Yeah, I think your drill down concept is one I'm going to hold on to. Is I think because maybe those what I think's have been shifting values is actually me just punching through an item and realizing, oh, that value is actually deeper than just this, whatever it is. It's actually farther down or deeper in the process, and it gives me some new insight into kind of who I am as a person. It may feel like my values are shifting. They may just be getting deeper, or at least the understanding of them getting deeper.
Yeah.